Sol and Lucia for inviting me to moderate this talk. I feel honored to be with such inspiring personalities. Very briefly, because Lucia asked me to, I would like to say that Chiquita Room, I founded it, and from the beginning, the idea was to run a gallery and at the same time continue publishing. That I had started a publishing house, an artist publishing house 5 years before. And also the space gave me the idea of opening a residency in the space. It's a modest bedroom, but it has brought many good experiences and a way of working with artists that is very close and intimate, because I live upstairs and in the end we're kind of roommates when artists are there. And the way that these relationships have evolved in time has confirmed that it's a great way of, a great resource, but also like a great way of opening galleries to other ways of doing. I'd like to introduce these two amazing women that are here with us today. Ursula Krinzinger, she's the founder and co-owner of Galerie Krinzinger, established in 1971 in Bregenz and based in Vienna since '86. She's a driving force in performance and body-related art and has presented more than 650 exhibitions that bridge generations and artistic practices. In 2002, she launched an international residency program spanning Vienna, Sri Lanka, Hungary, and Croatia nowadays. Thank you and welcome, Ursula, being here. And we are also very lucky to have Sara Suco Torres, who is also a gallerist and art curator, and who has lived and worked across the world in leading contemporary art galleries in Paris, New York, and Brussels. 2 years ago, you moved to Ibiza, and you founded Garita, a summer gallery in a fisherman's house, and also Las Cicadas, which is this annual artist residency program in the countryside next to Santa Gertrudis, right? I'd like to open the conversation with one question for each of you, a different one. To Ursula, so for over these 20 years that you've developed an international residency program, how have the residencies shaped your gallery's evolution and your relationship with artists?
I tried to do it like this. I thought it's more efficient. I don't know, it's so heavy, but it's okay. Answering this, I must go back to the 1975, where I got to know Marina Abramovic, took her out to Austria, and she did one of her first performances there, Thomas Lips. Then we went back to Croatia, and we had great dialogues. And we thought it could be interesting to find a residence in Croatia, where it was the former Yugoslavia. And I think there really the idea started. So we found a former Austrian schoolhouse. It was Austrian before. The whole area belonged to this Austrian Empire. And there was still the schoolhouse there, empty. So we could, by some sideways and speaking with everybody, rent it for a few years. And we started there to stay with 7 artists, 10 days, and got the technical equipment, one must think in '75, to this house on the country in the nowhere. We lived there, together with me, by the way, and the artists did their video project and were just totally independently. It continued until '82, and then it was taken from us. But so the idea, everything I do, if I think back, is growing. So it was growing in my head, but I had no possibility. In 2000, and we all had no money. really, we got a little bit from the local government. In 2002, in the 80s, starting with the 80s, it was like a miracle. We earned money. And all of a sudden, the Galerie, which was at that time already located in Vienna, right in the center of Vienna since 85, I thought I could do something for younger artists. I was always interested in discovering artists. This was my target, my thinking about artists. And then, by chance, we got a large area where there were former fabrication. And we did a little restoration. It's a third-floor building, besides an empty, huge garage. And in the building, one floor is dedicated to exhibitions of the younger artists, and the third floor is totally dedicated to residencies. It's really very interesting and beloved studio by the artists, 80 to 90 square meters, and a very modest apartment. And that's how it started. I was really thinking, it is incredible. All of a sudden, I have money, and I have to give something back to the art scene. It may seem very sentimental, but this was the beginning.
Thank you. And Sarah, so after having worked in major international galleries, you arrived in Ibiza and you create both a gallery and a residency. What drove you to combine these two formats, and what have you discovered in this hybrid mode?
So first, I just want to clarify. So the both space are like not linked. There are two different entities, but both were like, let's say, they were driving me because of the architecture and the landscape of Ibiza. First, I didn't know anything about Ibiza. I came completely by random in 2021 on holiday, and I became completely obsessed by the architecture and the landscape, the nature, but also the history of the island, because there are actually a lot of art going on, and there is a strong history about architecture. So first I fell in love with this fisherman house who was by the sea, obviously. And obviously there was a space of 20 square meter downstairs. Upstairs was the bedroom with the kitchen. And I thought it would have been a great idea because for me, architecture and art have been always like working together. And I was that was for me the main subject in my research. Because when I went to Marfad 10 years ago, I became super inspired by the thought and the reading of Donald Judd. Also to be far away of like the rhythm of the city. I thought it was interesting. So I decided to find like a old farm or like a finca, like we say in Spanish, to organize this artist residency during winter in Ibiza, which is much slower because obviously during summer it's kind of crazy rhythm with all the clubs. And in winter it's much more it's nicer to work, to think, to have a different rhythm of life. So that was my inspiration.
Okay. So to both of you, to open this conversation, how do residencies allow artists to take risks and to experiment beyond the usual dynamics of the art market?
I mean, what our principle is that the artists in residence, by the way, in the meantime, we really have artists from the whole globe. almost from the whole globe, from cities over the whole globe, or villages, or spots, is that they can do, of course, what they want. They can sit there. They can only think. They can produce works, which usually is the main thing they want to do. They can also work outside and choose a spot that we can organize, and then only stay in the flat. And for example, I had Isabel Noland, Irish artist. She came and said, "Could I only sit and read as artist in residence?" I said, "Of course." And she sat and then she did little sketches, and then 2 years after she did a big exhibition, and she will be representing Ireland in the next biennial. So everything is possible for these artists, and I think what we get out of it and what they get of it is not can't be described, because it's so different and so it has so many visions are discussed and in dialogues, because the building is like that. They have the upper floor, then office, and then there are two spaces where there are always exhibitions of young artists, mainly of the ones who were artists in residence, and we do little brochures so that it is also can be read or can be sent. And I think the discussion and the behavior and the other cultural import we get or impact we get, both ways, is a great thing. I mean, I simply believe it's my passion. That's why also we will speak about it. I think that I could open spaces in other countries. Is that a question, or is it answering?
Yes, I think so. What do you experience, Sarah? So about artists taking risks, but also how does this experience change or make the gallery evolve?
I think for me, the idea of like having the artist residency in the countryside was kind of also a challenge, and also especially in Ibiza, because, for example, there are many things that we cannot find, that we have to order online. So the idea was to get the artist to get out of his comfort zone, and then maybe to arrive here, because they have the total freedom, a little bit like you said, Ursula, because they don't need to apply with a project in advance. I didn't want to put pressure because they have enough pressure during the year with sales, with production. So I wanted to make sure that the artist could come and come without any pressure to prepare like a project in advance. So if they want to come and work or just look at the sky, that's also good. I mean, in a certain way, because at the end they always find a project or like inspiration from the island, from the crafter, but with this idea is always like, as I said at the beginning, to get out of the comfort zone, to get another type of studio, which has maybe less light, which is a bit smaller, maybe that you have to share with someone. Maybe you go to the store, there is not the thing that you exactly need. So you have to adjust and adapt. And when you have to adjust and adapt, obviously you find other solution. And when you find other solution, you propose another type of work. I mean, maybe. But this is what I saw in the 4th edition that we did so far, that the artists were actually very flexible and very creative even if it's funny to say that, because they always find another way to work around the problem, even if they don't find what they exactly need for the type of series that they are actually working or currently working in their studio in Paris or in New York or wherever they are. So for me, that was the most important thing, because I come from this very commercial background. And I think if you are always obviously doing the same, it's difficult to get out of it. So you have to change your habit. And also the fact that they have the studio next to where they sleep is also something that it can be very convenient, because obviously they have everything like around the kitchen. They don't really need to move. They can stay there 24/7 if they want. So it's also another way of living. They don't need to take the subway or the bicycle or the car just to go to the studio. So this changed also your type of your way of working.
Talking a little bit about the challenges of running residencies, and also the requirement of resources, logistics, time. What are the main challenges you've both faced in terms of funding, and how have you addressed them?
So far, we covered everything, except if the artists themselves got some support from their countries. This exists as well. So you wanted to know how the whole funding exists, no?
Yes, or if you
Did
want
I
to give a concrete
understand?
example.
Yes. So we usually cover the flight or the train or whatever the trip. They have a per diem, and a part of the funding that we cover also is that they have a solo exhibition in the project space, because in the middle of Vienna is a gallery where I have to speak tomorrow, I think. And in the 7th district, which is a very nice district, still it has little shops and it has an atmosphere. In the meantime, part of it is bought by the estate people, which is terrible. But still in the surroundings, there are little coffee bars, there are little shops, really interesting area. And so in the spaces downstairs, they have their exhibition, and we also give the possibility that collectors or younger people, it exists also that somebody quite young buys a piece, because it's a non-profit project, but we have still to cover the people, the team who is taking care. And at midday, this was always given by me. Also in the gallery, we always eat together. We have our meal together since 55 years. At midday, we sit together. If we are 2 or 10 or 5, it brings the people together. So they have their midday meal with the team, or with the 2 people who are also taking care of them. I think it's very important that when they need it, they can be taken care. But they have also solitude. If they want to be alone, they are alone. If they want to join, to go to openings, in Vienna it is every day, 2, 3 openings, more even. So they can choose, and they will be accompanied if they want or not. It seems really fantastic, but it's not so fantastic. It's also strenuous for them, because it's a city full of culture, full of events, full of galleries. But everybody loves Vienna. Don't know why, but whoever we ask whether they want to come, yes, we want to come to Vienna. Very strange in the moment. I think it's a very, very important city, even more interesting for artists than Berlin has been in the past. And of course, this is really great for us. yours is probably more more luxury. I mean, I know everybody wants to go to the island, and everybody, also the Austrians, go a lot now. The Austrian artists and one Austrian collector especially. So I think it's interesting, the two different situations we have here.
Yeah, but actually, no, it's actually difficult to get artists to Ibiza. They are not so. People are a bit cautious at the beginning because obviously maybe they don't know or they think it's only about clubbing. So it's not so. It's a bit difficult to convince them sometimes.
I hear a lot.
Yeah, but we try. We try our best.
You have even an art fair, don't you?
Yeah, there is Canart, who is actually, we collaborate with them for the fair, I mean for the premio, for the award, sorry. And we have 2 artists every year that we choose from the art fair that can participate to the artist residency. So we try also to collaborate to open the door a little bit step by step.
That was my next question.
Oh, sorry.
Followed addressed to as well. So going back to the funding and the challenges, what other models of collaboration do you imagine for residency? I know you have like different types of.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it's actually new because it exists since only 2023. Yeah. So it's actually very new. So every year we try another systems. Obviously, I'm not from Ibiza. I'm from Brussels, so I'm also learning step by step. So we wanted to try with the grants, European grant, but we didn't get it. So obviously, we had to find other solutions. And we are not philanthropists. I mean, not yet. Maybe one day. But so we tried with brands so far, and it has been working well. And this year we're going to have a private funding, which is going to help a lot, and we are going to improve like let's say the quality of the artist residency, because I mean so far it has been very modest, if I can say that, even if the place looks like quite nice in the middle of nowhere. So far, I mean, we want to improve every year and make sure that every year we can offer like more. So maybe a flight from New York if the artist is coming from far away, or more like daily things like food, or like an open studio at the end of the residency, that it's more with more funds or costs. So every year the idea is to improve in terms of like funding. So I think we are going to continue with private funding, because for us it has been the thing that works better, but also with brands, like even fashion brands or like drinks. They are always interested in like supporting things that happen in Ibiza. For that, Ibiza is actually quite interesting because it becomes like a brand at some point.
I forgot. Can I say something?
Of course, please.
I forgot totally that, for example, also Spanish artists. It's only one example. I saw a little drawing at Erhard's booth in Cologne, and I thought this drawing is extraordinary, and it was from Secundino Hernandez. Then he said, I don't know this artist very well, but when you come to ACO, again, ACO has helped a lot, thank you to Mirabe. And then when I was in Madrid, I visited him, and it was a little studio outside, and he didn't know how to react when I came. And I said, come to Vienna. I have a residence program there. And in 2006 he came. He stayed very long, 6 months or a year. And he developed incredibly. We gave him all the possibilities. And I mean, how much this person also changed in a way of artistic development. And in the meantime, I mean, he is almost worldwide known. And I wanted to honor you, even if you're in Catalonia. He always say, oh, Catalonia, it's so difficult. Even now he says it. And for him. And he's Madrileña. And but he loves Catalonia. And I only wanted to say that because we integrate, we watch very well the residencies. And in the meantime, it's 24 years that we are doing residencies, and 16 artists are in the program. We are a program gallery. We call ourselves in Austria, you call program gallery. And they are in the normal program of the gallery. So somehow I find that it's not so difficult to cover the cost also from that side, because it's always like that, you know, the more established artists pay the younger in a gallery like mine, because you have established artists, you have mid-career artists, and you have young artists who need to have the support. And I think it's interesting, and I didn't hear much or ever read also books about it or articles about it, how this avalanche, the established, the mid-career finances somehow the younger artists or co-finances. I also wanted to point out this, what I looked at or what I could discover.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. From my experience, everybody loves Barcelona as well to come here. And I'm curious about how you see artists engaging with local communities. How have you witnessed them to be really, really integrated in Vienna or in Ibiza?
We have, the studio visit during their work. They can be visited if they want it. They must want it, of course, because otherwise they are disturbed. So at certain days, people can go and visit them. And as we take them also to events or invite them to events, to openings, to private houses, but they themselves, that they exactly know their way, where to go and where not to go. And the interesting thing is that some of the artists in residence, they communicate still afterwards, because sometimes they are two. And bring Austrian artists, for example, to London to a show, and it's an exchange also. I believe very much in residences. It's my passion. That's why also I have created really some outside by chance in
Sri Lanka, right? Hungary as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about them?
About the other countries?
I mean, it's quite exotic to have a residency program in Sri Lanka. It sounds exotic.
She speaks. Okay. It's so interesting because I know about you. I know somehow got to know about you. I know about Ibiza because Austria had some connections, and also Austrian artists were there, and collectors, quite a lot of our collectors have houses there, and so I heard about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, in Ibiza, everyone, a lot of collectors has a house, but they don't especially come to buy or to see art. So, I mean, it's a market that it's all like it's an art world that it's very, let's say, specific. Especially us, we do the artist residency only during winter, because the rest of the time we rent the finca for holiday, and this is where the business is in the non-profit, if I can say that. Because obviously with the artist residency, we don't make money because we don't sell the works at the end. There is no exhibition because, again, we don't want to put pressure on the artists. If they want to do an exhibition, we do an exhibition. We do whatever they want in a certain way, but we prefer to propose like an open studio because then they can show the research, they can show works on the table. And also, we don't really have a proper space to show the works. We are not a gallery, because the gallery in the Fisherman House is closed during winter because it's too humid. So, since we don't have a proper space in the residency, we show the work in the studio as a research. So, yeah, obviously it's a bit different. And regarding the question with the local community, obviously Ibiza has a strong history and a strong background, and it's still going on about crafting. So obviously the artists are invited to work with them, but again there is no obligation. It really depends of what they want. For us, it will be super interesting if they collaborate with a crafter who does like ceramics, or that could be kind of a dream. I mean, especially for me. But it's how they feel. So obviously, I'm with them 24/7 because I stayed there also, and I guide them. So if they want to meet like a guy who does like metal or ceramics or whatever they need, we try to make like appointment, and we see what they could eventually do together. But it's only for 6 weeks, so it depends also of the timing. But it can give them like inspiration or another idea that they can continue when they are back in their studio. So obviously we really push them. We show them the island, the different location that are very like about Ibiza, and also we introduce them to the crafter of the island.
And also the other day while we were talking, being 6 artists in residency at the same time, how they connect or impact in each other's
Yeah. Actually,
lives.
we had only 3 editions. It's going to be the 4th edition. So we don't have a huge background or experience. So far, it has been very good. I was actually waiting for the problem, but nothing happened. But we had, for example, a group last year where every artist were mostly like staying alone. So they had their own studio, they didn't want to share. They were having dinner alone, or only a group of 2. And the year before, we had a group that became like best friends or started to do artworks together since the first day. So it really depends who is coming and how we deal with that, because we have actually 6 bedrooms. That's why we have only 6. But we could have more if someone wants to come with the partner, or it's a artist couple. So we could have, because we have a lot of studio space, so we could have, I think a bit more if they want to share the bedroom, for example. But yeah, it depends of the personality.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know until they are there. So that's the good thing. It's like a surprise.
And would you recommend other galleries to explore this format, combining the gallery with a residency?
I didn't understand.
If you would recommend other galleries to do the same, to explore the residencies while they run the gallery?
If you
would recommend, like give advice to...
yeah. I didn't
Sorry.
understand the word. Sorry.
Empfehlen, no?
Sorry. I would recommend it if somebody really develops a passion, because you can't do it because it's fashion, or because now I didn't point out that in 2002, when we started, everybody thought we were crazy because only the officials had some studios somewhere. Nobody knew about it. And when we started it also, nobody knew about it because we were in a learning process. I mean, even now, I have to learn, I have to continue. And as my son Thomas is now taking over the gallery, he's already now for years my capo. And, but I'm still there, you know. He's all my age, but I will work until I die in the art. But he will change it now somehow. For example, he wants to put mid-career artists and also younger artists by all the experience that in the meantime we wrote down. We had scientifically also people who researched it. And it's a very difficult field. It's never really, you can never do it really in the best way, but you try to do it in the best way. And just now he chose Morales, an artist of Curry's Mexican gallery, I think, Curry. And he will be artist in residence and in collaboration. So we do also collaborations with the galleries. But he is doing it. I'm not involved at all. And then I do a younger artist who perhaps would fit or would give advantage to both of them. You say they have no push at all. It is true, they are totally free, but you must connect them, I think, when you have them with collectors or with friends or with somebody. And of course, then sales or invitations or interesting things occur. So I think the relation to the city or to the surroundings is very important, and it's not a push at all. They can choose.
You said you push them, right, Sarah?
I mean,
you offer them the
we
possibility.
don't put pressure, obviously, but we invite them to discover Ibiza. Especially, it's always funny because there was few artists. They were like a little bit, because we work with different things, with different type of. So there is an open call. It's also by invitation, and we do the award with the fair. So the artists who were the most like. Who were thinking that they didn't want to come because it's Ibiza. At the end, they wanted to move to Ibiza. So, so I try. I mean, I try to convince them when I really want to work with this artist. I really try to. I like, okay, look at this. Maybe you can do that, and you are going to discover this, and maybe you can learn from that person, that kind of stuff. I mean, I try to do my best, and then but without pressure, because we are in an environment where we don't want to put too much pressure, and at the end they completely fell in love. So yeah, we try.
And regarding Garita, the summer gallery in the Fisherman's House, and Las Cicadas, do you think at some point they can be linked? Because from my experience, I found very different temporalities working with artists in residency and then having their show 3 years later or something like that. So do you think the gallery and the residency will be linked at some point?
Yeah, it's kind of my dream, if I can say that. So the residency is more like a winter project, and Garita, which is the project space, it's more like a summer project. So in June, I had like Edith de Kint, who were like showing the last series of work that she did in Ibiza, actually, because she also fell in love with Ibiza when she came on a holiday. So she started to do sculpture, and I think at some point it will be interesting to connect, but for the moment we didn't find like an artist from the residency who was interested in doing Garita, because Garita is actually very specific. There is no electricity, there is no water. I mean, there is water, but outside. So it's very small. The walls are not straight. I think it's 18 square meter. So you have to be inspired by that. Edith de Kin, she became very inspired by the space because she did a series of wooden sculpture that were made in Ibiza, and that was actually perfectly working of what she did. And it's only once a year, so it's kind of slow in terms of program. But the main goal of those two projects will be to link them. They are quite far away of each other in terms of location. It's, let's say, 25 minutes driving. One is in the north and one is in the center of the island. So it's also not so obvious. So I've been trying to convince some of the artists of the residency to do an exhibition, but so far none of them were like super inspired by the space. Okay. So it's to be continued. Okay, we see it later.
Maybe we can open the turn to the audience, if you have questions.
Do you want water?
Oh, before the end, before the question, I want to thank you for having been invited, and congratulations for this wonderful event and organization. And I also want to thank Tamara, who does the whole photographic project, because I forgot that every work that is done, if they want, is professionally photographed and given to them, because they have big difficulties to have a professional photograph. They have not the money, and we have this that we have her in the team since 16 years. Incredible photographer, documentary, and I wanted to say that before, how important it is also to document it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, thank you very much for this presentation. All right, yeah. Thank you for the presentation. My name is Anya. I come from Serbia, where I have a gallery and a residency program, focus being on the residency program. The space being in Serbia gave us the opportunity for some artists that we really like to come, because it's kind of like an unexplored territory. Not many artists have traveled to the Balkans, or well, to Serbia specifically. And one of our tasks has been to encourage them to visit the broader region, or what you called ex-Yugoslavia, right? Because we always felt that coming just to Serbia is not enough if they want to do a project that's about the region. So we kind of gave ourselves the task to help them with the travel planning and meeting the different institutions and people they want to meet, be it in Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro, wherever they wanted to go. As well as, introducing them to local craftsmen and the local art scene. My question would be, what kind of tasks do you think the residency should take upon? So what are the things that a residency must absolutely do for the artists? And on the other hand, what are the artists' kind of duties towards the residency? Also in terms of the time spent, because our feeling was always that if they're coming from somewhere far away, and we've had a lot of artists come from Latin America, where they have zero idea about the context, apart from crossing an entire ocean to get to us, it was important that they stay at least for 3 weeks to get to understand the context and create something fruitful. We always felt that just letting them there for 1 week is more of a vacation than a proper art residency, So I always found that the time frame should be something to really take into consideration. Yeah, I hope I was clear. Thank you.
I think it's not so much in consonance with what you both were saying, but
Sorry, I don't know. Maybe Ursula, you wanted to answer first?
But this was an own statement, so perhaps it was an own statement, so perhaps you answer. But I mean, they can stay, if I understood well, you want them to stay more than 2 weeks, but it's never 2 weeks only.
No, I was asking
at least 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year even, as long as they want. And the production, they decide, and we help them, and only a certain amount of money we can cover the production costs. Otherwise, we must look for a sponsor. There are countries who support them.
I was specifically asking for the
Can you
residency
speak a
duties and the
little
artist
louder?
duties. The question was specific about what does the residency need to offer, and what does the artist need to give back, in your view? That's because it's a two-way kind of street.
It is a total two-way thing, because they get, in my case, they get this exhibition, for example. But I never know whether I answer your question. I had an artist I discovered on my way to India, as I work a lot with also Indian artists. I worked a lot informative, and have two artists still I work with, and discovered this artist who was not known at all. He's a Pakistani, Waqas Khan. In the meantime, he's with different galleries and even museums. And he was really not known at all. He came, he cut himself, he closed himself in the flat, and in the night he worked, and we had only to put the meal in front of the door. He took them in, and if I didn't have the principle of doing at least a show a day or a week, they can choose, I would have never seen his works. And he was there 1 month or 6 weeks. But I think I'm always answering parallel to your question. I think it's an own statement, and perhaps my dear colleague can answer much better.
I mean, obviously, as an artist residency, I think we have we have things to offer to the artists. So I think Ursula was saying at the beginning or in the middle of the talk, I think we have to introduce them to the local community. I mean, it's not something that it's not an obligation, but I think it's interesting for them to get out of the comfort zone, to discover like the area where they are, and then maybe from that they can start to produce different type of works. So in my opinion, I mean, in my humble opinion, I think that for me that would be the most important thing. I don't know if it's that answer the question. And for the artists, actually that's a good question, but I don't know if they really have something to offer. I mean, obviously they can offer something physically at the end as to thanks the artist residency, but obviously it's not an obligation. So I don't think there is any obligation from both sides in my point of view. I don't know if that answered the question.
if I may, I'd add here that just the possibility of leaving their places and their everyday lives and spend, I don't know, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year somewhere else with the connection of someone that is dedicated and that can connect them to others. I think that's a lot that the main thing that the residency can offer. And the other way around, I would say that just sharing the experience in those moments, it might be just sharing a meal, or it might be going out to get some supplies, or that is for me as a residency, someone that runs residencies, is already a lot. So.
Thank you for such an interesting conversation. My name is Natalia Rubina. I represent the Barcelona-based project that names Dom Art Residency. We are a hybrid project that combines the residency, the exhibition program, educational program. And my question is to Sarah, to Ursula. As I understand, your residencies are free of charge. And do you charge the application fee from the artists? And what do you think about the application fee for the residencies?
Well, I never thought about it. I can't even answer. It's totally new for me. Does this exist?
I think so. I knew that exists, but I never thought about it for the residency in Ibiza. Because again, my goal is to offer as much as possible to the artists and to cover as much as possible for the residency. So I didn't want to involve like that kind of fee, because I thought it was a bit unfair, because I know the art fair, they are doing that. But it's a different model, obviously. So I was maybe thinking, even if I didn't think about it, but now that we talk about it, I think it will be a bit unfair, because if an artist doesn't really have the fund or the money to do it, then they will be disqualified since the very beginning. And since we are open to everybody, because we do an official open call, we want to stay open as much as possible and improve every year with more fun. Like with this year, we have a collector who is going to sponsor the residency. So we want to cover more and more. So in my case, we didn't do that, and we will not do that.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question related to the previous discussion about art fairs. So both representatives of art fairs mentioned collectors, that they would like to focus on attracting collectors to art fair. So nothing was mentioned about the other side. So the artists, yes, but ideally they would like to sell their work. How do you do that? Do you attract collectors at all? Especially in Ibiza, where they have houses, maybe they like to sell something, to buy something because they like this artist or that artist, just as means of supporting them.
You want to answer first? Yeah, that's a very good question, actually, that we didn't mention. So the thing is, I come from this commercial background, but for the artist residency, since we don't have a gallery like Ursula that it's linked to the residency, we don't want to enter to this commercial area, because it's something that we discussed with the artist, but it's always unclear. It's a gray zone, because most of the artists that come, sometimes they have a gallery. So it's difficult for us to position not the gallery, but the artist residency, who is supposed to be a non-profit, and to integrate this non-profit position in the commercial area. So obviously this is something that we would love to develop, but since we don't have an exhibition space where we do like proper exhibition, especially at the end of the artist residency, and we do only open studio because it works better with the space that we have. We didn't want to sell. Obviously, if someone is like asking to buy, obviously we're not going to say no. But the way that it's presented at the end of the residency doesn't really appeals the sales. So for now, we didn't do it. Yeah, But yeah, of course, we are very open to that.
You know, because I think they need it. They want to see their work. And in the studio, it's all over, and they can't. I think sometimes it's their first solo exhibition they ever have in their life. And they can study it, and of course we can work with it. There are many of these exhibitions where not one collector bought a piece, but then sometimes a collector comes in, or an official person, and supports it by buying it. I think they have to see their work when they have finished the residency. I discussed that with the artist. By the way, we have half female, half male. That's always approximately. That's always important for me. And I think even in the case of Isabel Nolan, if 2 years later she comes and does an exhibition there, which is wonderful, and didn't want to do it before because she only thought about it, how could I do it, how could I develop my ideas? Where else would she like to do it than in Vienna, because it has been born in Vienna? You can criticize this, but I think it's necessary to do the shows. They're little shows, and it satisfies somehow both sides, because it's very often a great surprise what comes out, positive and negative.
But I just wanted to say one more thing about that. I mean, obviously, we were talking about collectors for the art fair, but I think in the case of the artist residency, like I have in Ibiza, collectors have maybe another position. Maybe they don't buy the work because we don't do an exhibition, but they sponsor, for example, the residency. So we obviously, it's not like we need them, but they act for differently. They don't buy, but they sponsor. So it's also like they are part of the landscape, but in a different way.
Good point.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I am sorry for the